and the head of a conglomerate who was a hunting buddy of his. He despised all of these pretenders, especially the older used-to-bes. None of them had ever taken a real risk in their lives. Still, they had made millions, even billions, and they thought they were such hot shit. And then he thought about Elizabeth Connolly for the first time in an hour or so. His sweet, very sexy Lizzie. She looked like Claudia Schiffer, and he fondly remembered the days when the image of the German model was on hundreds of billboards all over Moscow. He had lusted for Claudia, all Russian men had, and now he had her likeness in his possession. Why? Because he could. It was the philosophy that drove him and everything in his life. For that very reason, he was keeping her right here in his big house in Fort Lauderdale.
Chapter 16.
Lizzie Connolly couldn't believe any of this awfulness was happening to her. It still didn't seem possible. It wasn't possible. And yet here she was, a hostage. The house where she was being kept was full of people. Full. It sounded as if a party was going on. A party? How dare he? Was her insane captor that sure of himself? Was he so arrogant, so brazen? Was it possible? Of course it was. He'd boasted to her that he was a gangster, the king of gangsters, perhaps the greatest that ever lived. He had repulsive tattoos on the back of his right hand, his shoulders, his back, around his right index finger, and also on his private parts, on his testicles and penis. Lizzie could definitely hear a party going on in the house. She could even make out conversations. Small talk about an upcoming trip to Aspen, a rumored affair between a nanny and a local mother, the death of a child in a pool, a 6-year-old like her Gwyn, football stories, a joke about 2 altar boys and a Siamese cat that she'd already heard in Atlanta. Who the hell were these people? Where was she being held? Where am I, damn it? Lizzie was trying so hard not to go crazy, but it was almost impossible. All of these people, their inane talk, they were so close to where she was bound and tied and gagged and being held hostage by a madman, probably a killer. As Lizzie listened, tears finally began to run down her cheeks. Their voices, their closeness, their laughing, all just a few feet away from her. I'm here. I'm right here. Damn it. Help me. Please help me. I'm right here. She was in darkness. Couldn't see a thing. The people, the party, were on the other side of a thick wooden door. She was locked in a small room that was part closet. She'd been kept there for days. Permitted bathroom breaks, but not much else. Bound tightly by rope. Gagged with tape. So she couldn't call out for help. Lizzie couldn't scream, except inside her head. Please, help me. Somebody, please. I'm here. I'm right here. I don't want to die. Because that was the one thing he told her that was certain. He was going to kill her.
Chapter 17.
But no one could hear Lizzie Connolly. The party went on and got larger, noisier, more extravagant, vulgar. 11 times during the night, stretched limousines dropped off well-heeled guests at the large waterfront house in Fort Lauderdale. Then the limos left. They would not be waiting for their passengers. No one noticed, at least no one let on. And no one paid any attention when these same guests left that night in cars they hadn't arrived in. Very expensive cars, the finest in the world, all of them stolen. An NFL running back departed in a deep maroon Rolls-Royce Corniche convertible worth $363,000, made to order. From the paint to the wood, hide trim, even the position of the intercrossed R's in the cockpit. A white rap star drove off in an aqua blue Aston Martin Vanquish priced at $228,000, capable of 0 to 100 in under 10 seconds. The most expensive of the cars was the American-made Saleen S7 with its gull-wing doors, the look of a shark, and 550 horsepower. All in all, 11 very expensive, very stolen automobiles were delivered to buyers at the house. A silver Pagani Zonda, priced at $370,000. The engine of the Italian-made racer barked, howled, roared. A silver and orange-trimmed Spyker C8 Double 12 with 620 horsepower. A bronze Bentley Azure Mulliner convertible. Yours for $376,000. A Ferrari 575 Maranello, $215,000. A Porsche GT2. 2 Lamborghini Murciélagos, yellow gold, $270,000 apiece, named, like all Lamborghinis, after a famous bull. A Hummer H1, not as hot as the other cars, maybe, but nothing got in its way. The total value of the stolen cars was over $3 million. The sales came to a little under $2 million, which more than paid for the soccer torts flown all the way from Vienna. And besides, the wolf was a fan of fast, beautiful cars, of fast, beautiful everything.
Chapter 18. I flew back to D.C. the next day and was home at 6 that night, finished with work for the day. At times like this, I almost felt that maybe I had my life back. Maybe I'd done the right thing by joining the Bureau. Maybe... As I climbed out of the ancient black Porsche, I saw Janny on the front porch. She was practicing her violin, her long bows. She wanted to be the next Midori. The playing was impressive. To me, anyway. When Janny wanted something, she went after it. "Who's the beautiful young lady holding that juice-X so perfectly?" I called as I trudged up the lawn. Janny glanced my way, said nothing, smiled knowingly, as if only she knew the secret. Nana and I were involved in her practices, which featured the Suzuki method of instruction. We modified the method slightly to include both of us. Parents were a part of practice, and it seemed to pay dividends. In the Suzuki way, great care was taken to avoid competition and its negative effects. Parents were told to listen to countless tapes and attend lessons. I had gone to many of the lessons myself. Nana covered the others. In that way, we assumed the dual role of home teacher. "That's so beautiful. What a wonderful sound to come home to," I told Janny. Her smile was worth everything I'd gone through at work that day. She finally spoke. "To soothe the savage beast," she said. Violin under one arm, bow held down, Janny bowed, and then she began to play again. I sat on the porch steps and listened. Just the two of us, the setting sun and the music. The beast was soothed. After she finished practice, we ate a light dinner, then hurried over to the Kennedy Center for one of the free programs in the grand foyer. Tonight it was Liszt and Virtuosity. But wait, there was more. Tomorrow night we planned to attack the new climbing wall at the Capitol Y. Then, with Damon, it was a video game extravaganza featuring Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, and Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos. I hoped we could keep it up like this. Even the video games. I was on the right track now, and I liked it. So did Nana and the kids. Around 10:30, to complete the day just right, I got hold of Jamila on the phone. She was home at a decent hour for a change. "Hey," she said at the sound of my voice. "Hey, back at you. Can you talk? This a good time?" "Might be able to squeeze in a couple of minutes for you. I hope you're calling from home. Are you?" "Been here since around 6. We had a family night at the Kennedy Center. Big success." "I'm jealous." We talked about what she was up to, then my big night with the kids, and finally my life and times with the Bureau. But I had the sense that Jamila needed to get off after about 15 minutes. I didn't ask if she had anything going for tonight. She'd tell me if she wanted to. "I miss you way out there in San Francisco," I said, and left it at that. I hoped it didn't come off as not caring, because I did care about Jam. She was in my thoughts all the time. I have to run, Alex. Bye, she said. Bye. Jamila had to run, and I was finally trying to stop. Chapter 19. The next morning, I was told to attend a key person meeting about the Connolly kidnapping and the possibility that the abduction was connected to others in the past 12 months. The case had been upgraded to major, and it had the code name White Girl. An FBI Rapid Start team had already been dispatched to Atlanta. Satellite photos of the Phipps Plaza shopping center had been ordered, in the hope that we could identify the motor vehicle the unsubs had used to get there before driving away in the Connolly station wagon. There were about 24 agents in a windowless major case room at the Bureau in Washington. When I arrived, I learned that Washington would be the office of origin for the case, which meant the case was important to Director Burns. The Criminal Investigative Division had already prepared a briefing book for him. The important entry point for the FBI was that a federal judge's wife had disappeared. Ned Mahoney from HRT sat down next to me and seemed not just outgoing, but friendly. He greeted me with a winking, "Hey, Star." A tiny dark-haired woman in a black jumpsuit plopped down on the other side of me. She introduced herself as Monty Donnelly and told me she was the violent crimes analyst attached to the case. She talked extraordinarily fast, lots of energy, almost too much. "Guess we'll be working together," she said, and shook my hand. "I've already heard good things about you. I know your resume. I attended Hopkins for grad school, too. How about that?" "Monty's our best and our brightest," Mahoney interjected, "and that's a gross understatement." "He's so right," Monty Donnelly agreed. "Spread the word. Please, I'm tired of being a secret weapon." I noticed that my supervisor, Gordon Nooney, wasn't in the room of at least 50 agents. Then the meeting began on White Girl. A senior agent named Walter Zelrus stood in the front and started to show slides. He was professional but very dry. I almost felt as if I'd joined IBM or Chase Manhattan Bank instead of the FBI. Monty whispered, "Don't worry, it'll get worse. He's just warming up." Zelrus had a droning speaking voice that reminded me of a professor I'd had a long time ago at Hopkins. Both Zelrus and my former professor gave everything equal weight, never seemed excited or disturbed about the material they were presenting. Zelrus's subject was the connection the Connolly abduction might have had to several others in the past months, so it ought to have been spellbinding. "Gerald Gottlieb," Monty Donnelly whispered again. I smiled, almost laughed out loud. Gottlieb was the professor who used to drone on at Hopkins. "Upscale, attractive white women," Zelrus was saying, "have been disappearing at a rate a little over 3 times the statistical norm over the past year. This is true both here in the States and in Eastern Europe. I'm going to pass around an actual catalog showing women who were up for sale about 3 months ago. Unfortunately, we were unable to trace the catalog back to whoever manufactured it. There was a Miami link, but it never went anywhere." When the catalog got to me, I saw that it was black and white, the pages probably printed off the internet. I quickly leafed through it. There were 17 women shown, nude shots, along with details such as breast and waist size, true color of hair, and color of eyes. The women had unlikely nicknames like Candy, Sable, Foxy, Madonna, and Ripe. The prices ranged from $3,500 to $150,000. There was no further biographical information on any of the women, and nothing at all about their personalities. "We've been working closely with Interpol on what we suspect could be white slave trading. FYI, white slave refers to women bought and sold specifically for the purpose of prostitution. These days, the women are usually Asian, Mexican, and South American, not white, except in Eastern Europe. You should also note that at this time, slavery is more globalized and technologized than ever in history. Some countries in Asia look the other way as women and children are sold, especially into Japan and India. In the past couple of years, a market has opened up for white women, particularly blondes. These women are sold for prices ranging from a few hundred up